nightlife. They want to have a place that they could engage and meet other young people in a very realistic way. So I think it has a lot to do with the attractiveness of the city in all.
In a Republican candidate, where is he at? Chris Sliwa, what percentage does he have, Rob? Do we know?
It moves, these polls move all over the place,
Slingshot strategies.
Yes.
Do you trust Strings?
Stand a chance against Andrew Yang, but we're not calling Andrew Yang mayor, right?
No, we're calling you mayor.
Right,
so this has what? This has Mamdani at 35%.
Right.
Cuomo at 25, Sliwa at 14, and it only has you at 11?
Right. I think that when I ran in 2021, they had me in 4th place also. They had me behind, I think, Scott Stringer, someone else, and Andrew Yang. So these polls have a history of not knowing my voters. My voters, they're not calling for polling. And the goal is going to be a combination of registering new voters, which is crucial to this race, and that's what Mamdani did. He was successful in registering new voters, and for the first time telling my story. I haven't started campaigning. I'm just starting campaigning, And once I'm able to tell my story, communicate with voters in an authentic way, we know on Victory Day the only poll that matters is the poll that say you won.
I agree. If Mamdani wins, okay, that this is a big if, but let's just say if Mamdani wins, and by the way, formidable guy. People cannot just think it's not going to happen. Like, sometimes in elections, how people say, oh, we have it. Yes, he did. If Mamdani wins, what happens to New York City?
Well, first of all, and I agree with you about slam dunks. Andrew Yang was walking around with a tape measure, measuring the drapes of City Hall. He just knew he was going to be the mayor. I knew differently because I know this city. And I think that if his policies are put in place, are put in place,
specifically,
and no matter who a candidate is, if you have those policies that are put in place, we have 700,000 small landlords. It's going to hurt them if they can never raise rent, although rent rolls are not meeting the repair, and it's going to hurt poorer communities because buildings are going to fall into disrepair. We saw this before in the 70s and 80s when rent rolls were not reaching what it costs to run a building. He's going to hurt public safety, defunding police. He just announced the other day he's not going to send police officers to respond to domestic violence issues. Officer Mora and Rivera, 2 officers that died in the beginning of my administration, they were going to a domestic violence call. One of the most dangerous calls a police officer can go on is a domestic violence call. You send civilians there, you are putting their lives in jeopardy. It hurts public safety to empty out Rikers Island when you have some of the most dangerous criminals that are there if they're on Rikers Island. When you look at many of his projects, that he's put in place, the policies are going to hurt New Yorkers, and it's going to hurt low-income New Yorkers, working-class New Yorkers, those who he represents.
Did you see this young lady who was a former AOC?
Yes.
Oh, my. Do you know who she is or you don't know who
I don't.
she is? Okay, play this clip, Rob. Go for it. So
New York City just nominated this guy, Zohran Mamdani, who is a socialist, to represent them for the mayor's election. And if I was 25, I would be obsessed with Zohran. When I was 25, I was actually 26, 27, I helped get AOC elected. I made a video for her campaign that went super viral. I met her a ton of times, and I was a huge AOC person. Now I'm 35, feel good politics of promising free food, free college, free apartments, like you get free, you get free, you get free. It feels so good. You feel as a young person when your frontal lobe is not fully developed and you're thinking more in black and white that this is going to be good, right? You're indoctrinated as a young person in America to believe that capitalism is bad and all your problems are because of these evil business owners. But I have to warn young people who are caught up in the Mamdani vibe is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And we've seen time and time again in countries and cities that adopt these socialist programs is that the rich people who are going to pay for them are going to leave because of a high taxes, and then we just get more taxes and less for it. And one example of this on a smaller scale is in New York in 2019, there was a law that was passed by the state house, all Democrats, to pause rent hikes on rent stabilized apartments. So they can no longer like rent hike. So say, for example, an apartment is rent stabilized. It's had the same tenant since the 1970s. It comes up for rent. Landlords, because of this law, can only raise the rent by 2%. So say in 1970, someone was paying $200 a month. You're now going to be paying $220 a month in 2025. But the problem is that rent stabilized apartment needs to be renovated and brought up to 2025 code. So because of this law, what's happened is now there are tens of thousands of empty apartments in New York that are rent stabilized that the landlords are not renovating because they know they cannot make their money back if they renovate them. And again, these landlords are not like evil people. And when you're indoctrinated into this sort of leftist, oppressor, oppressed mindset, you think like business owners are
powerful.
Seriously,
yes,
yeah.
it is, because idealism collides with realism. Running a city is realism, and we should be ideal. We should have hope. We should think about positivity of the future, and that's what we believe in. But running a city, you have to make tough choices. And if you start saying a small property owner, 700,000 we have in our city, that you could never raise the rent, what happens is working class people will see the quality of their housing go down. We've did this before, where you had landlords walking away from their properties, creating terrible environments. And so what she just stated is that we should all remain optimistic. We should all have hope. We should all want great things. But I lived in poverty. I didn't study it in the school. And academic elitists that never experienced missed meal cramps don't really know what it's like. And so just think about your journey. They're looking at you now. Everybody's looking at glory. And when people see just your glory and don't realize your story, growing up dyslexic was painful for me, undiagnosed until I got to college. Growing up on the verge of homelessness, my mom used to give us, we used to line up at the door. There was 6 plastic bags full of clothing, change of clothing for the day, because she thought we were going to come home and we were going to be thrown out. I used to turn that corner and my stomach would have butterflies in it because I would be humiliated when the marshals were out there. It's not how you run a city. And I think she pointed it out well. Her story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
She would be somebody I'd bring on the team if I was you.
Right.
I'd find out who it is, and I would, matter of fact, maybe reach out to them, get a hold of the camp and speak with them. In regards to Mamdani in New York. So New York City, 9/11, a day we'll never forget, right?
Yes.
You definitely won't forget.
That's
because
right. I was a lieutenant at the time.
Right. You were a lieutenant at the time?
Yes. And my brother was a sergeant. I went down to Ground Zero that night, and that was a site that really tore us apart.
It was one of those days that we'll never forget for the rest of our lives. Here's Bill Ackman posting something about Mamdani's father, okay? And he says, the Zohran Mamdani, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, okay? These are words from his father, a current professor at Columbia, okay? A school he tried to go to, where on his application he said he's African-American, black, and Asian, okay? Rob, if you can click on the picture so I can just read it. Clearly the prime objective is the suicide bomber first and foremost as a category of soldier. Does not the suicide bomber join both aspects of our humanity, particularly as it has been fashioned by political modernity, in that we are willing to subordinate life, both our own and that of others, to objectives we consider higher than life? Suicide bombing needs to be understood as a feature of modern political violence rather than stigmatized as a mark of barbarism. The danger of moral discussion of itself, how can any culture condone suicide, is that it quickly turns into a replay of culture talk, stereotyping, et cetera, et cetera. You read this.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting.
Yes.
How do you process this?
Well, and that I think that's what's important in this election, because you and I both know that there are difference of opinions, how people view life and how they see life.
Sure.
And your difference of opinion doesn't make you good or bad. It's just we think differently. I don't support that. And the reason I don't support it doesn't mean there's not going to be others that support it. But the question we need to ask as New Yorkers right now, does the majority of New Yorkers support that? Or does the majority of New Yorkers believe suicide bombings are terrorists? that Hamas is a terrorist group, that not calling or stating global intifada is wrong. That's where we are right now. Do we support the taxes to help with our city, or we don't? So we're just gonna. That's the beauty of running against him. There's no gray areas. I'm just going to lay out my case for the future of this city to continue to create opportunities for working class people in a safe environment. I'm going to lay out the case. And New Yorkers are going to have to make the determination. 9% stated what they want. Now we're going to find out what the other 91% want.
This is very serious because 9/11, when it happened to, some call New York City the greatest city in the world.
Yes.
When that happened. Devastating when we
Yes.
saw that. So do we want the father of the son, that may be the mayor of the city, to speak like this, to make it seem like it's not a big deal? I don't know. I think this is concerning. And when he said about cops just 5 years ago in a tweet, June of 2020, he tweeted saying, "We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need to do is defund the NYPD." This is that candidate, just so you know.
Yes.
That's what he said, New York, if you're watching this. But your deal with New York mayor uses budget tricks to keep as many cops as possible. No to fake cuts, defund the police. That's the guy. That's 5 years ago. You don't change a lot. You change in 10 years. You change in 20 years.
Right.
This is the core, and now he's kind of trying to reposition himself. But I want to wrap it up with this a couple questions, and then we'll finish it up. I think one thing that's going to be a big curveball for you is the following. Mm-hmm. In your city, there was a major trade that happened. There was a guy that used to play for the Yankees, Juan Soto, that went to the Mets. How are you going to handle it when the Yankees, let's just say if Yankees face the Mets this year in the World Series, how is that going to affect the election? That's catastrophic if you think. You got to take a position. What are you going to do?
Well, I hope you, I don't know if you have the picture of my hat that I wore, my hat during the playoffs, the Yankee Mets hat.
You got one that has both? Is that what you have?
There's a hat.
Go to Images, Rob.
That I have.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Were you ever a Yankees guy or no? Were you ever a Yankees fan?
Once a team is in the playoffs, I am a New Yorker.
But how about regular season?
No, I grew up with the Mets.
You're a Mets
guy. Yes. I grew
so
up.
Who's
with
your
the
favorite? Who's your favorite baseball player? Like, who was your guy coming
of
up?
all time?
Yeah, who's your favorite?
Tommy Agee, Ed Kranepool. You look at Cleon Jones, Tug
Old school.
McGraw. Those were good, solid players. '69 was my year.
Wow.
I remember sleeping with Tom Seaver jersey and just hugging it. I love those players.
Pitcher.
Man. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you play? Were you a guy that? What sport did you play?
I played just about every sport.
That's cool.
Basketball, baseball, football. I enjoy sports, and sports is important. My son also played a great deal of sports: soccer, rugby, football.
Respect.
Right, and it builds that character.
Fully
you're going to strike out, but there's other innings. When just think about where I was 15 months ago. Think about that. And God is good. And all I did was get up every day and deliver for the city. When you do an analysis of the day I was indicted and how much progress we made in the city after that, it showed New York grit. It's who we are as New Yorkers and really as Americans. Because I said to myself, that mother that's living in public housing, no matter what she's going through, she has to get up and feed those children. And Mommy told me that. She said, listen, get up. You got to get up. Never surrender. Fight for what you believe in. I believe in the city, and I was sworn to protect them, serve them, and deliver them. And I was not going to give up no matter what I went through.
Well, we're rooting for New York to make the biggest comeback and be that great New York City was with cops, on how they cleaned the street with the mobs in the 70s and 80s, to what happened in the 2000 with Giuliani, and what happened, how clean it was, right? And then you always think about sports with New York. New York is sports. Like,
Yes.
everything is sports with New York. And in entertainment and in finance, private equity, hedge funds. It's a very, very important city to the fabric of America. Like, truly, it's very, very important. So I'm excited to see what happens. But I will tell you, if the Mets and the Yankees go to the World Series and the election has happened at the same time, amount of eyeballs that's going to be on that city. I hope you're ready for it because it's going to be bonkers if that takes place.
And we got the World Cup coming.
Yeah, I know, and I think the final is going to be at the Jet Stadium,
yes,
right?
It's going to be in New York and New Jersey. Put it together.
That's right.
Exciting time.
I know it is. Definitely. We're looking forward to going to the game. And folks, if you're watching this and you would love the chat as well, the website is called Eric2025 with a C. Eric2025.com. Once again, ERIC 2025.com. Eric2025.com. If you'd like to support him, go to the website. This is a very, very big election. The last thing you want is to see New York City turn into the next Detroit and some of these other places. You need the right people to make sure we keep fighting for making that city great. Mayor Adams,
thank you.
Appreciate you for coming up, my brother. This was great. Thank you. Take care, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye.
Christopher Fomunio, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Plus de commerce, moins d'aide, a dit en substance Donald Trump aux 5 chefs d'État africains qu'il a reçus ce mercredi à la Maison-Blanche. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de cette nouvelle approche des États-Unis avec l'Afrique?
Effectivement, je pense que le président Trump est en train de vouloir marquer de son propre sceau une nouvelle définition de la politique américaine par rapport à l'Afrique. Et on se dit que peut-être, compte tenu des recherches naturelles existantes sur le continent, ça va ouvrir de nouvelles perspectives. Et nous l'avons ressenti parce que mercredi, les 5 chefs d'État, à tour de rôle, chacun parlait des recherches naturelles de son pays. Et peut-être que ça va changer le paradigme. Et il est envisagé un autre sommet, peut-être au mois de septembre, à New York. Donc, peut-être, il faut garder l'espoir que les relations vont changer entre-temps pour ce deuxième mandat.
Est-ce qu'il peut y avoir des accords secrets? Selon le Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump aurait demandé à certains États africains de bien vouloir accueillir les étrangers dont les États-Unis ne veulent plus et que les pays d'origine ne veulent pas récupérer.
On sait que, par exemple, avec le Sud-Soudan, il y a eu beaucoup de palabres ces derniers mois. Nous avons aussi appris des démarches semblables par rapport à la Libye ou à d'autres pays. Donc, ça ne me surprendra pas parce que la question de l'immigration constitue l'un des piliers de l'administration Trump pour ce deuxième mandat.
Alors, l'un des faits les plus marquants de ce début de mandat de Donald Trump, c'est le démantèlement de l'USAID. Est-ce que vous pensez que cela est définitif ou que cette institution reverra le jour quand les démocrates reviendront au pouvoir à Washington?
C'est difficile de le dire parce que l'administration Trump envisage, selon les dires du secrétaire d'État, créer d'autres structures à l'intérieur du département d'État pour que l'assistance internationale cadre avec la politique de Trump. Donc, il restera à voir si ces nouvelles structures pourront combler le vide que laisse la fermeture de l'USAID.
Les contrats miniers, c'est l'un des arguments que les États-Unis mettent à présent sur la table. On l'a vu le 28 juin dernier, quand Donald Trump et son secrétaire d'État Marco Rubio ont convaincu le Rwanda et la République démocratique du Congo de signer un accord de paix. Est-ce qu'après 25 ans d'échecs dans les Grands Lacs, cette stratégie pourrait réussir?
C'est quand même une nouvelle donne qui pousse à réfléchir et peut-être que les deux États du Congo et du Rwanda, voyant un intérêt commun dans la possibilité de nouvelles recherches dans l'exploitation des mineurs, pourront s'entendre à régler leurs conflits par des voies de négociation. Donc, c'est à encourager. Si ça peut calmer les choses, éviter la perte en vie humaine qu'a connue le Congo à l'est de son territoire, c'est vraiment à saluer. Mais maintenant, il faut s'attendre à ce que l'accord définitif soit signé par les deux pays et qu'on procède par la suite à la démobilisation des groupes armés à l'est de la République démocratique du Congo.
Alors, à propos de ces matières premières, pour l'instant, c'est la Chine qui exploite le plus de terres rares en Afrique. Est-ce que les États-Unis ont raison ou pas de vouloir entrer en compétition avec la Chine sur le terrain africain?
Effectivement, la compétition avec